Good afternoon, everyone. It is now 12:30 and the beginning of our BFM Personal Finance webinar today. This morning, we're taking a look at online shopping. It's become even more important on the back of COVID-19, and we're going to pay attention to some of the things that that you need to pay attention to in terms of picking quality retailers, how to spot scams, and how to manage potential overspending. I think that is something that some of us are concerned about. And to help me with that today, we've got Kevin Neoh of VK Wealth Planners, Hooi of Coreplus Advisory, and co-moderating this session with me, as always, Malik Ali, founder of BFM Radio and filife. Now, these personal finance webinars on BFM Radio are brought to you in collaboration with the Financial Planning Association of Malaysia, and my name is Roshan Kanesan. So this morning, let's get straight into it. I think the first thing, one of the biggest things we need to talk about is security and safety. Kevin, could you kick us off on this? What are some of the most important things to pay attention to here? Kevin, you're still on mute.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
All right. So, of course, I think most of us, if not everyone, would agree that online purchases and online shopping is a very convenient thing to do, and it also helps us to save money while doing that. But everything that is good also comes with a potential risk, and in that case, I would say that security and safety is one of the key concern when a person is shopping online. And you see, when we buy something from a brick and mortar shop, we are able to do survey, we are able to touch, see and feel and check out on the items that we want to buy. But this is not the same case when it comes to shopping virtually or online. Typically, we cannot get to check. We can only see still 2D pictures. And in most cases, maybe you can read something about some reviews online and all this. So I think when it comes to online purchase, one of the key risks that to bear in mind is that the quality of the product that we are about to buy, it's something that is really an unknown. You may be reading very good things about the item, but when it reaches your house, when it comes to your hand, you are in for a potential shock. So I guess this is one of the big key risks for me. Personally, I find that this is one of the big risks.
Yeah, I think all of us have one of the stories of how we may have bought something online that may not have been exactly what we thought it was. Pictures can be deceiving, and sometimes not all the reviews you read online are entirely genuine there. Hey, do you have anything to add to what Kevin added there, just specifically on the quality of the product side?
Yeah, for the quality of products, especially when you buy from the store that you're unknown, you first time buy. So when you buy online, actually you can't see and can't touch the things. So you really do not know how quality is it. So it's very important for you to do the check on reviews, other customer feedbacks. That's why we always say online shopping can be the best thing or can be the worst thing that created by humankind. Yeah, online shopping can be very fun, very convenient, very cost effective. But if you do not take any certain precautions, it can make a very horrible experience. Yeah, especially either you are the buyer or you are a seller online.
So specifically, I think paying attention to the buyer, sorry, not the buyer, who you are buying from. So the seller is a very important thing, right? So in the real world, I mean, not to say the internet is a fake world, but in the physical world, when we go to a store, there is an inherent, there's a barrier to entry to set up a store in a mall or a physical outlet. And a lot of times we trust the brands that we deal with, or we're very comfortable in that situation. That's not necessarily the entire case online, where I think from my anecdotal experience, everyone's just looking for the best prices. So what are some of the things that you should be paying attention to when you are shopping online in terms of the paying attention to the seller? Kevin, could you kick us off here?
I think one of the thing that is quite common is that most of us have a mindset that everything I buy online is going to be cheaper. But I guess it's not always the case. For the same product that you are going to, you have an intention to buy, you can probably find it cheaper online, but you have to ensure that it is the same model. Sometimes you can buy certain product, it can have maybe different type of variety of model. So it can have a basic product or a slightly premium type. So sometimes the picture can be similar, but if you don't read the fine print, then you are probably going to be buying something that is actually the entry model, but that's why you are paying a low price. So personally, I have this kind of experience. It happened to me once or so, because I just look at the picture, oh, it's similar, I just search from the keyword, this thing comes out. So the one on the left side probably it costs a lot cheaper. So I just read at the model, all these things, but I did not notice that there's a slight difference in the alphabet of the model. So when I got it, it's actually very basic model. It's not what I wanted, but I have paid for it. So, and then in this case, it's not really the seller is misleading me. It is my own careless mistake. So it tends to happen. So one of the things is that for us to to prevent getting something wrong, and then at the end of the day you have to make the same purchase twice, you have to read everything, including, especially more important is that the model, the brand. Sometimes you see that things looks like the brand that you are looking for, but actually it's not really the same brand. It's what you call that, OEM.
Yeah, OEM brands.
Yeah.
So I've personally had this issue before, right? Where especially when you have model numbers like C920E and C921F, it's very easy to not pay
Confused.
attention to these details. Hooi, do you have any of your own stories in this regard, in terms of, or just advice when it comes to picking sellers? Or maybe if you don't have, we can jump over to paying attention to security.
Okay, for this, it's very important for us to do research. If you really want to get a bargain online, you can actually go to the offline store first. Talk to the salespersons, get whatever advice, get the model number specifications, then you search the same exactly specification online. Like myself, I bought a computer, a laptop a few months ago. So I go to the offline shop to find more details. Then after that, I search online. Finally, I able to get a few supplier with the same specification, but with much lower price. Then after that, of course, we need to check who is the supplier. Then you check the background. And finally, if you can check exactly the same warranty, specifications, and everything, the free gift, everything, but you can get 400%. I actually get 400%, sorry, 400, 400 ringgit cheaper for the same laptop that I get. So it is a very good bargain. And the person, the seller I buy from actually is the authorized, very important, authorized retailer. Yeah, from the computer. Then,
Sounds
besides
like
that,
a good deal you have yourself.
besides that, you also need to check, especially for ladies, the skin care product, right? There's so many same brand can be packaging, everything exactly the same. So how do you tell the cheaper one is actually the genuine one? So very important. Some of the tip is you check the barcode. Normally the original one is the barcode. Yeah. And also if you go through the Tyco, nowadays very popular. People buy the same brand, the original brand, but from overseas. Someone go to overseas help you to buy. The one is purchased on behalf. Normally now internet we call it Tyco. So I have experience buy the sports shoe, the original brand from Korea, like through the Tyco. Actually, it's about 100 plus cheaper. Can be 100 plus, can be 25 to 30% cheaper, but it's original. And you can request for the receipt, and you see the activities, the review, the activities, how so far, what is the interactions with the consumer. All this is very important. Yeah. Thank you.
Yes, I've experienced going to the actual store itself. Just to refer back to one of your previous points, inspecting those actual products in person and then making that comparison online as to whether to buy it in store or buy it online. But when you're buying online, I think one of the most important things is security, right? I think a few weeks ago on this very webinar, we were talking about scams, and it's so easy to fall into one. Some of them are really, really especially the online ones, whether it's a fake account or they stealing your data or anything like that. But one of the simple things is typing in the wrong website or not using the HTTPS before you put in the website, because that's, I think, the more secure one. Kevin, could you what else should we be paying attention to when it comes to security?
I think you mentioned one thing is that the URL of the payment website may be, because nowadays you see there's so many links for us to click, and you wouldn't know whether you are clicking at the right link at some of the time. So you have to notice that if the URL of the website that you are visiting or the payment gateway site, if you do not see the S after the HTTP, the S actually stands for security or secure. I'm not so sure, but it stands for security at the end of the day. It means that you should be very careful about leaving your credit card details over there. And then, of course, online payment is not only when we buy some things online. It can be when, let's say, like you do advertisement on certain social media platform, your your credit card details will be captured there as well. Personally, I have an experience, even though this is a social media platform that most of us are very accustomed to, my credit card details happen to be charged without me knowing it. And I woke up to a few SMSs from the banks that, oh, this purchase has been made and is in pound. But when I saw the number, I felt it's okay lah, because small number. But when I saw the currency is in pound, it's no longer small number. So sometimes I don't know. I wonder how this happened. Of course, it is also not easy for us to link back to those platform and say that, look, I left my details with you and then this has happened. So there's not many things I can do. The only thing I can do is, even my bank asked me, the only thing you can do is to lodge a report with the police and then file a complaint with them and then see how it goes. So leaving your credit card details, sometimes our web browser will prompt you, do you want to save your card details? I will never save my card details in any of the devices, even though it's a desktop at home. I suggest to everyone, don't save it. Even it is convenient, but I guess our wallet will be with us at any point of time also. So do not save your card details online, because you never know what you will be buying without you knowing it later.
And Hooi, do you have anything to add to that, or has Kevin been quite comprehensive there?
About just now you mentioned HTTPS. And, another way for you to check whether it's secure or not is the padlock beside the website, right? And nowadays, I think since 2019, Google now they will display anything that without the SSL or TLS security, so they will appear unsecure website. So it's nowadays very easy for consumer just to take extra cautious. And when you click on the padlock, actually they were able to see the informations of the website, that official website that register with the expiry date, the organization's info, everything. Okay. And beside that, before we check external, we make sure ourselves do our part. You make sure you update your device to the latest updated model, and also make sure you have the firewall active. You have your antivirus. If possible, if you always go out for the public Wi-Fi network, so make sure you have so-called subscribe to the VPN if you can. If you have no choice, you need to use the public Wi-Fi. Yeah.
Right. And Malik.
I just want to relate an experience about, I come back a little bit to Kevin's point about leaving your credit card details. So I remember once going on, I'm leaving my son with his grandmother, and he wanted to play some games, so I said, okay, fine. So I bought him a Facebook game, and I left my credit card details on Facebook, right? I just left it there. When I came back after our holidays and everything, we came back, and this was like a month later. I looked at my credit card bill. He didn't realize, but he was buying. Every time there was a pop up on this Facebook game, say buy more stars or something like that, right? We kept buying them. And I guess he ran up a bill of 1,300 ringgit. And I'm like, what did you buy? Oh, I just bought stars. So I think the danger, I guess, of just leaving your credit card details online. I think Facebook has now tightened its process, but at the time, this was about 7 years ago. I still remember. Since then, I've been very, very careful about leaving credit card details. That's online. That's not even what Kevin said. That leaving your credit card details on your desktop is definitely safer than leaving your credit card details online with a merchant like Facebook, right? So just an anecdote on that one.
Right, and before we move on to taking a look from the seller side, I think some of us are looking online to maybe bolster our own incomes in this period, or if it's your full-time endeavor. There are other things like paying attention to customer support from the site itself, whether it's a marketplace like Lazada or Shopee, or even directly from the brand itself. And I guess keeping your proof of payment, these are things that you want to keep track of, keep a copy of these things as documentation. Kevin, is there anything else you would add to that before we move over to the seller side?
First thing first, when I actually I rarely shop online. I only do when I had to, because I'm quite a conservative, not a really risk taker. So actually buying things online is like making investment. If you are an aggressive person, to you it's not a problem. But for me, I'm rather a conservative side. So I try not to buy from online as much as possible unless I have no choice. But when I had to do that, when I receive the parcel, what I do is when I open it up, when I unbox the whole thing, I will first take a picture first to make sure that every point of the unboxing, I will have a photo to back up my claim if the things that comes to my hand actually is a broken part or whatnot. So this is just to keep some things to support my claim if I had to fight with the vendor later lah. So apart from that, I think keeping your receipt, as a matter of fact, I guess because you're buying online, you are definitely going to, it's not difficult for you to retrieve the payment, purchase and whatnot, because it's going to be in email, in the app, you can find it. But you have to remember what kind of ID you use, because sometimes we may have multiple user ID for one platform. Because I don't know why would anyone do that, but I have seen people have more than 2-3 accounts. So you sometimes, if you forget about you use account A to buy item B, then when you have dispute later, you do not remember where to find. You'll be very messy. So about this, I do not have any advice, but I'm just curious, why would you need multiple accounts?
All right, that's it. I guess just account internet hygiene, I guess. Hooi, do you have any points you want to emphasize before we move on?
Okay, yeah, when you register new so-called website that you want to shop for, so when you create the account, when they ask for the password, remember to set a unique and also the strong password, because you might key in your credit card details or whatever, even though you do not store it, but it's better for you to create a strong password, as well as don't give extra or more information that is needed. If the website asks you too many personal information that you feel that's suspicious, just go away. Don't continue. Okay, there's so many other websites you can choose from, and also don't click on any untrusted pop-up advertisement. Even though it's at the normal website, genuine website that a platform that you are shopping with, but other untrusted or fake so-called advertisement might come in to that website. Yeah, there's few tips. Thank you.
Right, now if you've just joined us, my name is Roshan Kanesan and you're now listening to a BFM Personal Finance webinar. Sorry, you're watching a Personal Finance webinar in collaboration with the Financial Planning Association of Malaysia. Today we're taking a look at online shopping. We've covered a bit on the buyer's side of things, in particular security and what to pay attention to. We're about to talk about the seller side, but we're also going to be touching on things like how to manage a safer online experience, and also managing your cash flow so you don't overspend online, things to break that habit or at least manage that habit. And to help me with this this afternoon, I'm speaking with Kevin Neoh of VKA Wealth Planners. I also have Hooi of Coreplus Advisory, and co-moderating this with me, as always, Malik Ali, BFM founder and filife founder as well. Let's talk about the seller side of the situation. More people are trying to sell goods online. Hooi, what are some of the tips here for the seller side? We've talked about consumers already. What are some of the key things to pay attention to?
Nowadays, there's a lot of small merchants that they sell products either through Facebook or through Instagrams. So, and you don't be surprised, some of the seller are teenagers. Yeah. So if you are parents listening to this filife, so and you know that your children are doing some small business online, so it's very important, or yourself, you are doing some small businesses online. So it's very important that if let's say you you receive some order, it's better for you to receive. Of course, now we are talking from seller side, okay? It's better for you to receive cash in advance. Because we have experience, because my daughter is doing some small so-called business online also, we receive order saying that they want to buy 3 cartons of masks from us. And they said that their customer, because this one is a middle person, their customer were not able to pay them immediately. They are going to make the payment 2 days later, okay? And coincidentally, my daughter's supplier saying that today, okay, that day itself is the last day for the promotion. If she can place the order for 6 cartons of the face mask, so they can get an extra 20% offer. So what should you do? Normally 100% the sales is done cash in advance. But in that situations, so we take the risk. So what is the second so-called option? But coincidentally from that experience, we already placed the order to the supplier. We commit the 6 carton, but finally the buyer, they can't fulfill the order. So now my daughter need to slowly sell the 6 cartons of the mask. Yeah. And also we have another experience is we sell some things through carousels. And there's one so-called buyer contact us, say that they want to buy. And suddenly, I think in the next day, we have confirmed, give whatever information we needed to the buyer online. So suddenly the next day, there's a bank from overseas contact, email us saying that the consumer actually overpaid. They threw online TT online and they overpaid $200 and immediately asked us to take action to pay back to the local banker, which is affiliate to the bank so-called. So, and if we do not make the immediate payment back to the buyer, they are going to take a legal actions. So what will you do with this kind of immediate so-called email alert from the bank, so-called bank? Yeah. So this is some kind of experience that you need to take note if you are doing buying and selling online. Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds a little bit like the Wild Wild West online there, but I guess you've got some of the sellers. I think from my understanding, Carousel has this thing called Carousel Protection, which is essentially an escrow service, right? So they'll handle the money until the transaction can be completed. I think some of the other online marketplaces have this as well, but I can't confirm that. Kevin, what about you? What else? Sorry, yeah, Malik, do you want to add something first? You're on mute, Malik.
I just wanted to highlight something from Harry Chung on Facebook. He said he does not feel comfortable to shop for high-price item online unless it's Amazon. But what he says that he says that he uses his credit card details. He uses PayPal to anyway shield his credit card details, right? So I guess PayPal will keep your credit card details and shield it, so that people can't see your credit card and so on. So I think that's something that's useful. But I think the second question he asked is and maybe this is to both of you, how can you, if it's an overseas vendor, is there any way to recover your money if your goods do not turn up or do not arrive or are damaged? Is there anything that you can do if it's an overseas vendor?
For my experience is we actually use PayPal, because PayPal actually have this kind of security that if they receive a complaint or the other party is a new seller, PayPal new seller, they actually will hold the payment for 2 weeks. Yeah. Until the so-called the item is fulfilled.
So I guess our answer to Harry is please continue using PayPal. You know, so though I do know merchants do complain about PayPal. Their charges are quite high. I think it's about, I guess, about 3.5% or something like that. It's really, really high. Yeah.
Yeah, I think, but I think that comes with the territory of selling online, especially the high price items, right? Still today, I personally also feel uncomfortable about buying expensive things online unless it's directly from the brand itself. For example, like if it's directly from apple.com, if I want to buy a new computer, but I feel it's all Amazon because of its reputation. But aside that, it is a big trust deficit, I guess, and that's, I guess, for the marketplaces to figure out. Kevin, on the seller side, do you have anything to add about how they can resolve their own issues here?
The common perception is that when we talk about being cheated or or you are victimized, we always think that consumer is the, or buyers will be the one who get victimized. But so at many times, I think seller is also at the same side of the risk spectrum. So you see, it can also happen in that sense that if you are selling something and then your supplier may demand deposit from you, and then you have placed the deposit, and then eventually the supplier may keeps telling you that the goods are being delivered to you, but eventually you can never see that the things being sent to your house, and then at the end of the day you will be given some excuses about why it is not turning up, and then the order might be cancelled. The money may be returned to you, but it may already after a certain period of time. So in that during that period of time, you may have committed to other order. Let's say it's not entirely online. You may be buying your product online to sell offline. So in that case, you may have been taking order while you are waiting for the stock. Then it becomes your responsibility to fulfill the order you have received from your customer. But the cost of the products may have changed in 2 to 3 weeks or 1 month later. So these represent an opportunity cost and reputation to the business, to the seller as well. We have heard story like that, but I am not sure how true is that, because there's no way for me to validate that as well.
But it's something, I guess, to keep in mind. Malik, yeah.
I have a question for our panelists. You know, I mean, how much do you trust seller reviews? I think we have one of my colleagues, Helmi Ismail, says recommended that if you're buying on e-commerce, look at the seller's rating, read customer reviews. So how much do you trust those ratings? You know, I mean, for example, one question: someone has 20 ratings, another person has 200 ratings, right? That's a good gauge of like, you know, the weight of the ratings. But how much do you trust it, Kevin?
I'll just say you take it with a pinch of salt. Don't trust everything. You have to have the, what we call the common sense also when we go through reviews. Reviews are good in a way to tell you something that may help to produce more trust in the buyer psychology. However, it can also be bought, or it can be also done by my network of friends. If I'm selling something, they can help me. Even for platforms like Airbnb, reviews also can be non-genuine one. I've seen that. So don't trust review. What I will do for, if let's say I'm really making a purchase for myself, I will read those reviews. Those reviews have to be consistent, and it can, if it's lengthy, then it's even better. And if one site or one e-shop totally have positive reviews without negative one, I will also be very mindful. I don't think that you will get 100% right all the time, so that there are bound to be some complaints or some minor feedback. It can be everything good about your product, but the delivery is slow, but the reply is slow. So these are the reviews that I think will be more practical and more reflecting of what it is true. And if there is a picture, photos, then for me, it's more trustworthy. And then the number of reviews, I think, is not really, it doesn't really matters, because how do I justify this statement? Because for, let's say, two sellers selling the same thing, one may be a new player. The new player, of course, will have less number of reviews accumulated compared to the one that have started maybe months ago. But it doesn't mean that the new one is going to be offering something that is bad or something that is counterfeited product. So all these, I guess, we have to try to PM or check with the reseller as well. And then you based on the kind of way they reply to you, the kind of language they reply to you, the attitude, the reaction time, it can also tell you something about the way they are conducting their business. But at the end of the day, trust your gut feeling.
Okay. Hooi, what did your daughter do to get a good review? Did she get a good review?
Yeah. So talking about reviews, actually, you don't only check on that site's review from their consumer that they display. You can check different external review, and also you can check from the review how the seller have these interactions with this so-called consumer. Besides that, you can see how many followers they have, and also if let's say now we have small so-called young entrepreneurs online, right? A lot of them, they actually post in the stories, so you can see whether they are really how they actually pack their products. Means that this is a genuine site, and also beside that, if you buy through the platform will give certain so-called crown or certain rating, and they will remark preferred store. And to be safe, you buy from the authorized store. Yeah, I experienced buy offline for my car phone holder. From the offline store, 56. From the authorized website, you can get about 46. You from Shopee or Lazada, you can buy exactly the same items. From authorized shop that they place their item in Shopee and Lazada, you can get about 40, 46, about the same that the direct website they sell online. But you get from some that is not authorized, you can get about 36, 39. So you can see different price range. That's why from there you check the reviews. And like Kelvin say, you you trust your gut feeling, common sense, and don't buy anything that it seems very expensive. Some like 46, right? Other people can sell 100, same item. Do you think that if you do not check market price, you do not know the average price for this one is about 46 to 50, for example. If the same item they sell 100, do you think that 100 ringgit is best quality among all? Not necessarily, because they are playing on the psychology for those who have too much money to spend online.
Okay, so just to summarize, I guess what I'm seeing is that first, I think Kevin, you said volume of reviews don't matter so much, but I guess even for me, volume of reviews actually is a factor, a certain factor. Like if everything else was the same, the higher volume of reviews, it seems more safer than the lower volume.
For you?
Yeah, reassuring. Number two, you said the interaction with customers. I guess the ratings and all that, the interaction, how they respond to customers, right? Customers give a bad rating, how do they respond to it? I think there's one tip that someone gave to me, which was really, really good. He said, because I was spending hours and hours looking at all the reviews. He says, Malik, don't look at all the reviews. Just look at the worst reviews, right? Just focus on the worst reviews. And if you read the worst reviews and just get a sense, is this, what's happening here? Is it just a customer service issue? Is it slightly delayed, slightly damaged? Or is it really like, oh, the product hasn't turned up, right?
I will continue to look for reviews until I see negative feedback. Then
that's right.
It tells me this could be more real than the other one.
Exactly. And Airbnb is the best thing for that, because sometimes for some customers, like when you get accommodation, certain things that they don't like, you actually don't mind, right? So it's okay, right? So you look at the bad reviews and see if you can accept it. And the fourth thing that I also like maybe highlight is that gives me a certain sort of comfort. Is there a physical address attached to this place, right? Is there something? Is there a distribution center or something? So I remember buying printer cartridges. We were all printing from home, and printer cartridges, and that swayed me, because I was like, oh, okay, there is a physical store, not store, but it's a warehouse place that I know that and they say, oh, if there's any issues, we can. You can come to our distribution center and get an exchange or something like that. I'm like, oh, okay. There's a physical
at least you know where to go,
to it, which really helps my decision. Anyway, to go, that's right. And at the end of the day, it was actually quite useful, because I my own fault, I got a wrong printer cartridge. So now then they say, oh yeah, why don't you come over and exchange?
Yeah, I think one of, just before we move on over to the taking a look at consumer experience, which is I think part of this conversation, I like to go look at Lazada reviews and then look at Amazon reviews, and it really is, you read the individual reviews, and there are a lot of people that actually spend some amount of time giving you an essay. What can equivalent really is a research essay on this is what I like, this is what I didn't like. It's really those reviews that just say things like, oh, it's great, that you want to just discount completely, or, oh, this was terrible, because it doesn't really give you any value. These are things that bots can just create, right? But if you've just joined us, my name is Ringgitandsense, and on today's BFM Personal Finance webinar in collaboration with the Financial Planning Association of Malaysia, we're taking a look at online shopping. And we've talked on the things to pay attention to if you're an online buyer or online seller, a lot of the things that can be typical signs of things to watch out for. Right now, we're taking a look at how to create a safer experience, or I guess a better overall online experience, and specifically looking at the things to do before you make a purchase. So I think we've already alluded a bit to that, like looking at reviews, maybe not trusting all the reviews there. But Hooi, could you maybe guide us through this a little bit more? What are some of the must-dos before you make a purchase online?
Yeah, another thing is try to talk to the customer service. Make sure they have a contact number, valid contact number, either through website or you can go through their chat box or whatever. Make sure it's a real person. I personally feel very frustrated if I talk to a robot, so-called customer service. And answer my question, personalized question. And when we call your toll line, also take very long time to reply, which brand. I'm not sure whether you know which brand I'm referring to. Yeah, very frustrating. They always use the so-called live chatbot AI customer service. So yeah, so my another so-called benchmark that you can judge is whether this customer service is going to give you a quick refund, exchange, return or not. Is if when you want to buy, they also very slow in respond to you. How about you want to ask them to refund or for exchange? So this is very important. Besides that, I think you also need to check on their any hidden cost or not. Some website they can show their normal price is cheaper or cheapest among all, but after that you add in so-called shipping cost or they call it what small item or small amount purchase, they add another few ringgit to it and add whatever so-called shipping cost or delivery cost. Especially nowadays, a lot of people buy Grab food online, right? If you only buy a little bit so-called items from certain restaurants, for example, you buy about 20 ringgit of drinks and food, and the delivery charge is 5 ringgit. So can you imagine it's 25%? And after that, then they will charge a small item, right, purchase. So in total cost actually is more expensive. Are you okay with that? If you think that it's a good things, then you go ahead. If not, then when you count back, actually it can be frustration for you. And also when you buy online, you check their shipping policy, whether it cover international use warranty. It's very important, yeah. And also when you buy online, if the website just indicate certain currency exchange, but when you really do the payment, is it actually the cheapest among all your comparison of the price is also important. So you can compare prices through some website also. Nowadays, there's a website that can compare price. There's iPrice, there's a compare price online. So you can one shot, you can compare through one website, you can compare few platform. Yeah. So do your homework. Besides that, I think secure payment is very important. Try to get cash on delivery, use credit cards or use e-wallet. And also keep receipt. Keep receipt and also the conversations. Whatever conversations you have with the seller, make a record. So in future, whatever they promise, make sure they deliver. If whatever that you do not keep record when you ask for refund or exchange, then you have no proof to show. Besides that, also you go into detail, check your statement, credit card statement. Make sure whatever that a price that you pay is actually appear correctly on your statement. Yeah.
All right, and Kevin, what about you? What do you have to add to Hoi's points over there?
We have spent most of the discussion mainly on purchasing from platforms or online purchase, but there are actually, like you mentioned correctly, carousel places like this. It allows individual seller and buyer to strike a deal. So for this, you have to also be careful sometimes because you have to meet up to complete the purchases. For me personally, I will try to go to places that are crowded and it's safe for me. So I think this one is very important.
Yeah, agree.
You never know who is on the other side.
Yeah, I guess this is when you have the COD, cash on delivery. These are things maybe we take for granted, right?
Yeah.
I myself feel that way whenever you meet to. It's all information. You have to be careful about your information. This includes things like your address, your name, your phone number. So those are the C2C platforms. We've talked about the marketplaces as well. And when you're making a purchase, you've got to do your homework. You've got to. We've talked about looking at the reviews, how you look at the reviews, what type of reviews you're paying attention to, paying attention to the logistics side of things. Right now, it's a bit more difficult. Logistics players are having a bit more. Takes a bit more logistical effort to get things to you, but these are things that you have to monitor, I guess. And I think one of my key takeaways from shopping online is really finding sellers that you trust. Even on marketplaces like Lazada, there are particular, I guess, online retailers that you can buy, that I buy particular tech things from, or things that your friends have used, because essentially it's a digital mall. But and after the purchase, Kevin, what things are there for the consumer in terms of protection after you've made a purchase? Because I think earlier you were talking about how you didn't buy the thing that you wanted to. What, aside giving your seller feedback and hoping for a return or a warranty or something like that, are there any real options?
Well, I guess the first step is always to feedback to the person or the businesses that you make the purchase from, that is the seller. So if they cannot help you to address your issue to satisfy your expectation, then perhaps the next step is to escalate it to the platform that you are buying from. That is why it's important we buy from platforms instead of going direct, because there goes our protection. But if let's say all things also fail, I guess the final step for a consumer is that we have this tribunal for consumer claims in Malaysia. We can lodge a complaint there, and then we let things flow through that naturally from there and see what will happen later. For that, there is a website, and then we can also do e-tribunal online registration. So I guess it means we can file our complaint or dispute online, which is quite convenient also.
Right. Okay. So is there I'm not sure if this is a thing, but is there a form of insurance for, I don't know, online purchases? Is there some, like, you have insurance for travel, but do you have something, do we have any products like this?
At this moment, not that I'm aware of.
All right.
In some platform, they actually can let you opt whether you want to add in the shipping insurance or not. Yeah.
Okay.
Besides that, to add on to what Calvin mentioned just now, my personal advice is be proactive. When you find something is wrong and slow in delivery, or they not deliver to you at all, or you have regretted buying something, especially subscriptions, you can actually go back to them and cancel. Yeah, especially if you buy through or you subscribe through the Apple Store, just call Apple customer service, even though you have subscribed for maybe a few days or a week, but you find that it's not what you want, it's not the subscription that you want, just call Apple customer service. They are very helpful, and immediately you can get the refund in few days time.
Yeah, I've actually had personal experience here where if you just, even not just calling them, but I have gone on the website, the billing website, and this is a service I subscribed to, but it was not exactly what I wanted. And Apple refunded the money within days. And I think a lot of the bigger players do this because I think a lot of their not their principles, but their guidelines are based out of the US itself, where you can have returns on subscriptions and things like that, right? So these are just some things to pay attention to. But Hooi, I interrupted you there just now. Was there anything else you wanted to add there?
Yeah, besides that, for example, we normally have the free subscription, right? Free subscription for 1 week, free subscription for 1 month or whatever. And after you click the free subscription, you agree to it, and you are required to key in your credit card normally. And if you really think that that is you want to enjoy for free for 1 month, please, after you subscribe, you go to unsubscribe it first. Then, yeah, go to the Apple Store, unsubscribe it first. Then after that, you will not be charged. My own experience is the subscription is expired on 14th of June, this month, right? 14th of June. So I'm thinking that I still have time. I just really let it not go and do anything yet. And on 13th, they already charged my card. So I need to pay for another 1 month. Yeah.
So this is actually this is a pro tip, I think, when it comes to these sort of things. Recently tried out, I think, what was YouTube Premium, right? And they always,
1 month free.
always want you to put in your credit card details, so that, you know, it creates that that inertia or that friction for you to, I'll just continue lah, you know, that attitude, right? But yes, immediately go and cancel it, because they'll give you till the end of that billing period before the service ends. So that's a pro tip there from Hooi. But I think this brings up a very important point, right? Cash flow management, overspending. This is a it's become a very prominent point, especially with microtransactions. I think, Malik, you had a story earlier about how your son raked up charges on gaming. This is not an isolated incident. I think I've had it before. I've done it on my own accord. I make these purchases because it's so easy to do it. You're like, oh, I'll just buy some additional stars and play a few more rounds.
There's some advice for companies as well. I think we all now realize that there's a lot of cloud based services out there, right? All the way from, you know, sort of Microsoft Office online to Adobe to a whole bunch of stuff, data analytics. I know we use Gmail at BFM, right? So I think it's interesting as part of cash flow management for companies now. Before we used to look at buying software, you know, things. Now we have to really watch out for subscriptions because what I'm seeing is that most of our employees at BFM as well as at filife, we are now all on, you know, all forms of cloud services. I think we need to, as a form of management control, I think we really need to look at what we subscribe to as a company, right? And this applies to companies as well as individuals, but just from a company point of view, I think at this moment in time, we probably, BFM subscribes to at least 12 services out there. And there's a point in time where I'm speaking to, you know, our accountants and Mira, our GM, and saying, hey, what subscription services do we have? Oh, Olivia knows our digital project manager has a few. Our data analytics team has a couple. Our, you know, we know about the Office. So bringing it all together and consolidating it and having someone look at it and going, okay, have the employees left? Or are they still around? Are we still using the same number of users and things like that? All this is part of cash flow management for companies.
Subscription
I think also,
manager.
Yeah, subscription. You might have a new position, right? Subscription manager, right? But in the same way that it applies to small businesses like us, it also applies to individuals. I guess I have a VPN that runs in the background. I'm not sure whether I'm still using it. I have an Apple Play Store, Apple Store subscription that runs. I think I'm a bit like, what do I have? I think we have to put everything into one spreadsheet or one place where we actually have to like look at it and do we really need it and have a review from time to time. Important for individuals, important for small businesses.
Yeah, and I think this is something that families can apply as well, right? Because there are plenty of subscriptions that have family options for you to kind of manage it as a unit. And this is something that you can definitely help and will play into that cash flow management. It's as opposed to getting individual Spotify subscriptions for each cost maybe 15 ringgit a month. We get a family package, which is 26 ringgit a month. Yes. A lot of them are doing this. But let's talk about cash flow management and maybe ways to stop overspending. I think it is easier to spend money online once you put your credit card details on there. They've perfected the way of frictionless payments online. But before we get there, if you've just joined us, my name is Roshan Kanasan, and today on this BFM Personal Finance webinar, we're taking a look at online shopping. We've talked a lot about the security side, the safety side, things to pay attention to, whether you're a buyer or a seller. Right now, we're taking a look at cash flow management and try ways to stop overspending. Now, joining me today are Kevin Neoh of VK Wealth Planners and Hooi of Coreplus Advisory, co-moderating this with me, Malik Ali, BFM founder and filife founder. And this is done in collaboration with the Financial Planning Association of Malaysia, more commonly known as FPAM. So let's take a look in this last quarter of the webinar at what are some of the key ways to prevent overspending and manage cash flow expenditure. Before that, you would have to go to a retail store and actually spend that money. But if you can spend it at home, open up Amazon or Lazada, there's a little bit less friction there. Kevin, maybe we can start with you here. What are some of your top tips?
One thing about online shopping is that while it is something good, it's a good invention because it helps us to save time and also allow us to buy something at a cheaper price than the alternative. But at the same time, if you get hooked to it and you get used to it, you always find yourself shopping online mindlessly, then it may eventually jeopardize your financial future. As a matter of fact, there is this news published on CNBC. Online shopping happens to be top 10. Is not top 10, it's the top one weekly budget busters. But this is a survey in US. So 40% of the time people have their budget busted just because they cannot control themselves but end up shopping online. And for this, I guess it's important for a consumer to prioritize their spending. While we know that something that we need, you can buy from online and it costs you cheaper, then it's a good thing. But if you end up keep on buying things that whatever you see also becomes something you need, then eventually it will be very dangerous because you will end up spending money that you will need in the future. So prioritization on our spending choices are what I think is very important.
Yeah, I think a story that really I relate to very recently was I tried YouTube Premium for a month and it was great, right? It was a great experience not having to watch ads and being able to play in the background and all of that. But at the end of the day, I think it comes down to whether it's that much of a need, right? Especially this time when I think a lot of us are looking at ways to conserve cash flow. Do I need to spend that additional 15 ringgit for, I think it was a single unit or 25 for a family account when I'm okay actually just watching YouTube with an ad here and there? These are some of how you kind of the line between need and want. Hooi, do you have anything to add to Kevin's points there?
Yeah, what Kelvin mentioned just now is the internal self-control, right? So beside internal, you set your life goal, you have your budget, and you set allocations for how much you should spend for allowance that you can spend online. Besides that, actually, I think very important is you find out yourself normally which website or where you shop from online, and you think it's too much, block that website. Unsubscribe that mailing list. And also now there's a lot of FB Live, right? People showing how they use this knife import from where Germany, what is the so-called why this pot is so good, and especially for those housewives or ladies, yeah, and also fashions. So if you think all this is too disturbing and cost you overspend or buy too much of this item online, unlike the page. If you like the fan page, whatever they post, they will come to your Facebook, come to your phone. So unlike it, when you are rational, sometimes when you see it, you are irrational, right? So when the moment you are rational, you are serious about your budget, go and unlike whatever these things. And also make yourself not so convenient to shop online. So don't store your credit card, don't go to the store that have one click buy facility. Yeah, some is you one click, then you don't need to think already. Everything, okay, on is buy. Yeah. So in overseas, there's some apps that you can subscribe. They were it's called Stay Focus or Icebox. So you actually whatever website the buy button, they actually will icebox it for 40 days. So you can unlock it after 40 days. So no choice. Yeah, you find your way. Yeah, and also you talk to your friends. You have a good buddy who actually you can talk to. So whenever you want to buy anything, talk to that person. But make sure you talk to the right person. To a wrong person, and this person's also more excited than you, then end up both will overspend online. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess creating a bit of friction there, or at least giving yourself some time to make that decision. You don't want to, I guess, bow to the instant gratification instantaneously, right? You want to create that buffer there. That can be very helpful. I've personally done the unfollowing thing on Instagram and Facebook, or at least stop showing me ads like this, because there are some very, very nice things and very nice ads online. I think very recently I just saw a KFC ad just before we started this, and all I'm thinking about is KFC at this point. But you know, we try our best to deal with it. Malik, I think we've got a question from Facebook, right?
Yeah, that's right. So it's actually more of a comment, but I think it's a worthwhile comment. It's from Natalie Shobana Ambrose. Thank you, Natalie. It was she wrote out a very thoughtful 5-paragrapher, 7-paragrapher. And I think, but basically, I think what she says is that essentially her comment is that on certain platforms, it's always buyer beware, because it's so hard for the customer or the buyer to have a point of redress, right? Once in a way the bargaining, the negotiation is the cards are in the seller's, the timing of the response, everything's on the seller side. So as a buyer, it's really, really hard. It's up to you. For example, she says it's hard when wrong items are returned. The seller has the right to reject the return refund request, leaving the customer to foot the bill. So basically it's at the behest of the seller. So, and she says that this happens with established sellers too. Established platforms also do this. And what she's saying is that there has to be better laws, rules are enforced to protect consumers, because only then will the platforms, sort of be serious about getting their, return refund policies correct. Because right now there's little recourse. So I guess that's the thing. I guess my feedback is like, look, if that's the issue, then maybe it's time either to move platforms or wait for those platforms to kind of like get their refund policies better, introduce things like protection, the guaranteed things. And I'm sure they in the long run it's good for them, and I'm sure they're all doing that. I remember Alibaba in the early days had to do this. They created an escrow account to mediate between buyer and seller. Otherwise, they couldn't get people to trust each other, right? So I think it's a fair comment by Natalie to say that yes, I think I'm sure they're working on it. I think maybe they should be working faster on it to protect consumers. Just a comment.
We need more people to feedback and complain more proactively.
Yeah, that's right. So I think the platform that she mentioned, we have a connection with them. I'll pass that feedback to that platform itself.
All right, and I think I think this buyer beware, this, I think it's called caveat emptor, is a serious thing, right? So personally, even for myself, it is, especially when you're buying an expensive thing, when I'm buying the smaller things, part of my brain is also just being like, okay, can I afford to write this off in case it's a dud of a purchase? Because there is always that fear, like how do you return that product? If it comes from overseas, what are the return policies there? And personally, why I pick certain vendors, or at least very particular merchants or online stores or brands to buy from. That's why having an address, a local address, is very important, I think, when people buy from the marketplace, from a local site. Having that address there is very, very helpful. It instills a lot of confidence. At least all right, you call the place and be like, okay, are you actually there? I think I've actually done that when shopping online. But yeah, I think we've covered quite a lot of ground there. And in the last few minutes before we end, Kevin, do you have anything? Kevin and Hooi, do you have anything you want to just emphasize before we wrap this up? Hooi, can we start with you?
Okay. When you want to actually buy online, and that you already know that the item is your necessary and what you want to buy, and you need it, very important, need at once, right? So don't buy if it's not so urgent. Put in the wish list first. Wait for holiday seasons. Wait for any so-called promotion, like for example 11/11s or whatever promotion seasons. And also you can search online for coupon code, promotion code. you key in that brand or the merchant's name or manufacturer's name, and also key in the coupon. Sometimes they can give you free shipping, free no discount, certain discounts. So be a wise consumer even though you buy online. And just a recap, check the seller and merchant and make sure your site, the network you use is safe, and also the site is safe, and also protect your informations, check out the return policy, everything. Yeah, do a lot of homeworks.
Right, Kevin, what about you?
I think at the end of the day, online shopping, while it is good, it can be detrimental to our financial future and financial health eventually if you do not gain control over it. And one of the way I use to help myself to minimize or avoid impulse purchases is that I will talk to my close friends. Hey, I'm thinking about buying this item. So my friend will challenge me back. Why do you need this? Couldn't you find another alternative? Will you be able to cope without this item? So all these questions actually get me to think about the intent to purchase more deeply, and eventually it may help me to avoid buying it at all. So I guess that would be very helpful. You just need to find yourself an accountability partner, someone who helps you to make the right decision. If you do not know which friend is good to play this role for you, why not talk to a financial planner as well? We help our clients to be accountable to their goals at the end of the day.
Yeah, Kevin, I need the reverse kind of buddy, because I find myself being a bit too rigid with the situation. It took me 3 months to make a purchase recently. And
sometimes you also encourage people to spend.
Sometimes we need, sometimes I need someone to tell me, you need to purchase, enough of this procrastination. Malik, as we wrap up, any comments from yourself?
I think all I can say is, after Kevin's point, I think I'm going to buy him lots of diapers as a thank you for his participation in this panel. Yeah. Kevin just had a baby recently. I think the baby's probably about below 3 months. So everyone,
close to 3 months now.
Yeah, close to 3 months. So 3-month diapers for you, Kevin.
I remember correctly. It was the day your baby was born, day before MCO, right?
No, it's 31st, just the last day of the first phase.
Last day of the first phase. Now, as we look forward to life after the MCO, next week on this very webinar, me and Malik will be speaking to Lynette Lee, CEO of the Financial Planning Association of Malaysia, and Rajan Devadasan, CEO of RD Wealth Creation and licensed financial planner with Manulife Investment Management Berhad, about how to move forward now that and think about life after the MCO. Right now, we're in RMCO, that's until the end of August. And after that, how we manage our money is going to be even more important. Now, thank you to everyone who's been here with us for the whole hour. My name is Roshan Kanasin. This has been a BFM Personal Finance webinar in collaboration with the Financial Planning Association of Malaysia. Helping me with this discussion today, Kevin Neoh of BKA Wealth Planners and Lim Hooi of Coreplus Advisory. Co-moderating this with me, Malik Ali, founder of BFM and filife. Thank you everyone for joining us today, and have a good week ahead.
Thank you everyone.
Thank you.